Welcome to Lucid Dreaming and the Cube of Space with the Alchemical Cabala. This week, we are entering the door that is Dalet. This is the eastern face on the Cube of Space and corresponds to the divine feminine at the top of the tree of life. She is called the Luminous Intelligence in the Book of Formation, or the Sephir Yetzirah. And she is said to be more valuable than all rubies and fine gold. The tarot key associated with Dalet is the Empress, and she is the doorway through which your limitless spirit entered into form, and the doorway that spirit uses to enter all worlds, within and without. Okay, so here you see the tree of life in its simple form on the right. There's a little more elaborate form on the left. And we see the Empress right up here, the top horizontal plane. Notice this first three Sephiroth. The Empress forms the foundation, the supernal triad. These are the first three Sephiroth. On the cube of space, she is the eastern face, which is the direction where the sun first appears. This is both without and within. It's interesting that the Empress alone connects the sphere of wisdom to understanding on the tree. And if you look here, you see that it is the divine life and divine mind. She connects these two spheres alone. Again, she's the highest horizontal path on the tree, just below the divine self or crown. Now, this is the most important thing to remember about the Empress. Looking at the simple tree, notice how, and here she is on the path, she is this path. The Empress alone forms the entire causal plane on the tree of life. See it up here? This is why the Empress is said to be worth more than all rubies and gold. She is the generatrix of all, including that which becomes all things. All things including all rubies and gold. She is Mother Nature herself. She is Isis. And in the Western mystery tradition, she's a Venus and the throat chakra, the center here at the throat area. As we immerse ourselves in nature and the key that is the Empress, a presence, a luminous, intelligent presence becomes accessible to our self-conscious mind through our subconscious. And this presence attunes us to the victorious life of the self. So everyone relax, allowing everything to be exactly as it is. Some deep breaths and just feel your way into this key and its imagery. Let the light of being flood your senses inwardly, and please unmute yourselves one at a time and share what occurs to you with our key for this week.
She's looking up, so she's looking within herself.
Hmm?
And her foot is on the crescent moon, meaning she's learned to use the subconscious. She's mastered it, how to use it.
Yes. She is over the subconscious here for sure.
She's completely at ease. Nothing that she's holding has a grasp to it. It's just gently held. She has complete confidence because she's looking inward and knows.
The Empress is love, because look at how much green is in this card. Pure love. And the mind is back there, the water flowing, and the 5 roses are the senses. It said so in the book how the green represents a that you don't just take all the time, you give also. The green plants give to us the chlorophyll or whatever.
Just gonna share real quick that just looking at it, it struck me how much green there is and how much yellow there is, or yellow and gold, but just the clear, I guess I'm kind of focused around the neckline, just that whole area where you see that it's all the green from the trees that blend in, just looking from the color alone, into her dress, and then also the trees there, and she's looking up into in that area. I don't know, just something about the fact that she is the bridge between wisdom and understanding, and just just thinking about the causal plane and all that, and just how, just looking at this, her, as it was shared, she's just looking at her, that difference from her dress to her face and where she's looking and all that. It's just kind of this, just something about love and beauty, and just kind of this concoction, this blending, this that just really resonates with that. I don't know, just kind of looking at her, because even just like with her hair and her skin tone and all that, and then as it then gets into the world and the trees and everything, and just again that overwhelming amount of green that's there, and I think green being love. But yeah, so just that was kind of thing, this beauty and love, and how she's kind of the bridge between that. But yeah, I'll stop sharing there.
What comes up for me, I was looking at the tree of life and the 10 orbs and the 22 paths, and how although the number on the card is 3, it's actually the 4th card of the tarot, and the 14th, the path number 14, because you have the the fool, the magician, the high, yeah, the number three, yeah,
You're on mute,
subconscious
Chris.
number two, the
Chris,
high
you're on
priest,
mute.
yeah, and then the Empress. So yeah, that's what came up for me.
Okay.
The mismatch, if you will, the numbers, why
Uh-huh.
the number three, and
Yeah. Okay. Good question. So is it a question or are you just pondering these things?
well, it came up. That's what came up for me, and
Okay. It's
you
good.
know, it may sit unresolved, but it's
Yeah, I hear you.
if there's an answer that you have for that, it might be what I'm looking for.
Okay, well, I'll speak a little bit to that. It's good that you are wondering about these things. So part of the system of the tarot is it's getting us to learn things on a completely different level from what we are accustomed to learning. Okay, this like we go to school and modern Western the modern Western mind, we learn, linearly, and it's like, okay, 1 + 1, and this is, and that's fine. That's taken us a long ways. The thing is, the system of the Kabbalah and the Western tradition is it's an amalgamation of many systems, and it forces the intellect past it forces the intellect into a position of humility where as we contemplate more and more exactly along the lines of what you're saying, okay, this is the third number three tarot key, but it's actually the fourth because the fool is counted as one, because even though it's the zero key. In the Hebrew Aleph Bet, the letter Dalet down here at the bottom right, its value is actually 4. And you spoke correctly about it being the 14th path on the tree of life. So, to anyone watching that might not be aware of this, where we get this from in counting the paths and what they mean by traditionally in Kabbalah and from the Book of Formation, which again is the oldest known mystical book in the Jewish tradition. It's very, very old. Scholars will argue on how old, but they all agree it's the oldest. It's the Sefer Yetzirah. And it talks about the 32 paths of wisdom. And so to get there, what we see here is we see that we have the 10 paths, right? Which are the Sephiroth themselves. Those count as the first 10 paths. So the first path is really Keter, the beginning. The second path is wisdom. The third path is understanding, right? On and on, down to the 10th path, which is Malkut. Then we start back at the top of the tree with zero key, which then, even though it's 0, we've counted to 10. So now the path becomes 11 here as the fool. And then over here, the number 1 or magician key becomes 12, right? And the high priestess becomes 13, and the empress that you're talking about becomes the 14th path. On and on through till we get to number 32. Now, the intellect says, I don't know what to do with that. And that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Because if you look at the tree, the orange sphere over here, that is called Hod. And on the simple tree, you see, it's the intellect. In the West, we value the intellect like it's God, like it's the whole totality of the whole enchilada. And in Kabbalah, it's literally 1/10 of the picture of the whole self represented by the tree. Because over here we have our desire body, our feelings, which notice on the tree, they're absolutely equal to the intellect. They're not above or below. Those combine to make up the entire astral plane below here. So the point is, as we contemplate in these ways, in whatever way that we are moved, the keys themselves show us ourself. You're directed by yourself to where your attention goes. And something becomes accessible through our intuition, and we start making these interconnections that we otherwise would not have made. And I always say that the Cabala, it means the reception, but it teaches what cannot be taught, but what can be received. And it's very much geared towards our Western intellectual mind in the present time. So it's good to start wondering about these things, and just keep wondering and keep coming back to it. And then a revelation starts to come from within that wasn't accessible or noticeable. Does that speak to your question?
Yeah, it leaves me unresolved because my intellect isn't supposed to take grasp of that.
Well, your intellect can do whatever it can do with that. Right? It can do whatever it can do with that. But the truth is, the intellect on the tree is 1/10 of the entire whole. And we tend to put...
I'm looking at my card, and I'm looking at your card, and I have a background of reference in this whole system. And I'm looking at the shield, and I'm seeing the one that you have is red.
Yes.
And the one that I have is colored bronze gold.
Yes. Copper is the color of Venus.
Copper. Okay, that's got to be what it is.
Yep. It's the
so
metal of Venus. Yes.
I'm wondering why the one you have is red.
Well, we'll have to ask.
It looks copper.
Yeah, it's the same color. There may be a tint on your screen, what you're watching, but
yeah,
it looks...
It's a copper
bronze.
color.
Yeah,
I see it more copper.
definitely.
If you compare it to the roses are more red.
Yeah.
Okay, your copper is a little bit more reddish, perhaps not as metallic as the copper that I have, and that may be the explanation.
Okay, no worries.
And supplies change over time. So
yeah.
Can I add something about the numbering of the...
Yes, please.
We have to remember that the Fool is number 0, and it's not at the beginning, it's everywhere in the deck.
Yes.
It's between every card. It floats.
Yep.
So it's just placed up there at the top, because what are you going to do with something that's moving everywhere? So there it is.
Yeah,
thank you.
The Fool representing the soul that travels through all those paths.
The self.
Yes, the
You're getting
self.
the self.
The soul.
Not the same, but the self.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
on the Empress, she's looking up into the upper right-hand corner. So her attention is in the upper right-hand corner, which is very similar to the sun on the Fool card.
Yes, perfect.
So she's got her eye on the ball, you could say. And therefore, keeping her eyes single on creation, the creator, what comes through her will be an expression of that.
Very nice. She's the only major character that I'm aware of that is looking up in that direction.
And her undergarment is white.
Correct.
Again,
Um,
another one with a white undergarment. And
two quick.
yeah,
No, go ahead.
whereas
Okay.
the fool has Yod He Vahe across his, she has the law, the triangle in
Mhm.
red, active on
Yep.
her heart.
Two things I was going to share real fast. Regards to, and it's absolutely wonderful there. But one thing was that as you were, Chris, as you were sharing that, and we're talking about the numbers right there, that it was just making me think of like, because I've heard, it's referred to like a glyph right there, and on a certain level, it's kind of like just kind of has that feel of like a Zen koan right there. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not meant to be understood at this level, but then
Yes.
once, yeah, that kind of. So I was like laughing about it, just looking like, oh, this is just one very elaborate, very wonderful Zen koan in certain,
It is.
in a
It's
certain
very much
sense.
like that. It's very
Yeah.
much like beginner's mind. And to more to the point of Patrick, the intellect in the tarot, the first place we see it is the dog on the Fool key. And what it says is we get to bring the intellect with us on our spiritual journey, but it's not leading things, and it gets to go along for, and as high as it can go is kind of about the need of the fool or the self. But it's a companion. It's just, again, the Kabbalah and the tarot puts our own intellect in its appropriate place in relation to our whole self. I think that's the best way I can articulate it.
And it can't be left out.
Absolutely. You
It's
cannot leave it
there.
out.
You
It's
can't leave it out, but you
it's
have
splendor on the tree. So it's
there's-
not something, it's
Yeah.
not it's not lesser. It's just has its own appropriate place.
That's important because the mind wants to put everything in a certain order,
Right.
and then it's a gradation order, like this is better or worse. None of that
Exactly.
exists. There's no better or
Yeah.
worse. Everything contributes to the whole. And you know,
Yes.
if anybody's had a dog, you pat your dog from time to time.
Yes. Yeah, you take
But
good care of it,
you
but
love your dog, so you
Mhm.
know it's
Yeah.
an integral part of the process. And
Yeah.
that's something we have to remember, that we're trained in the West to have judgments about where things go.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's not going to happen in the
No.
cards.
This system shatters our whole Western constructs of what we think is important
Yeah,
and
not
brings
that.
us
Yeah.
back into alignment with what is real and therefore really important.
We take a
It-
good look at our value system.
Absolutely. And the Empress is the imagination. She's our visual, she's the pregnant subconscious. She is the language of the entire subconscious. And what a gift, the divine feminine is, it definitely makes life worth living.
She's inquiry instead of knowing, right?
She's both.
She's both, huh?
She's both. Yes.
But I meant knowing, like the intellect, like I know that.
Yes, exactly. See, that's the you pointed out a good point, Nancy. The intellect thinks if it has a fact or a thought, it kind of knows something. And we know better, right?
So when I was studying this, I saw the magician as consciousness, the high priestess is subconsciousness.
Yep.
And the empress as Mother Earth.
Yeah.
The
Good.
nature, Mother Nature.
She is. Excellent. She is absolutely that. And for us to get in touch with her within, it's good for us to sit out in nature, to connect with it. which far transcends our intellect and nourishes our soul. Okay, we're gonna move forward here. Speaking to this, let's see. This is an interesting Einstein quote you might find interesting. So one of the primary tasks we have as aspirant and spiritual beings is our skillful development of our own creative imagination and our own inner vision. And our image making ability, which is really Tiferet on the tree, the sun. That and our word, by the way, that's what she's pregnant with, the sun. And the use of the imagination and the use of sound impregnates the womb of creation. This is continually happening. It's always happening. We're always processing, holding images within our awareness and speaking words day by day that gives rise to worlds that are born through us. Remember how she has her foot on the moon, which is the foundation. Imagination is perhaps the most powerful tool that human beings have to self-determination and shaping of the future of the world.
Our lucid
Where,
dream.
go ahead.
Our lucid dreams.
Okay, yes, our lucid dreams. Perfect. So where we go and what we will become to will unfold through your living word and the images that you give life to with your focused attention and feelings. Remember, attention is prayer without ceasing. Attention is prayer without ceasing. So pay attention to where you allow your mind to dwell. If it is not honoring you, this is just a good rule of thumb. If it doesn't honor you where your mind is dwelling, redirect your attention to that which does. Okay. So it's really interesting how the world has evolved so quickly, right? To how virtually everyone in the modern world has a bombardment 24/7 of images and words, sounds, images and sounds, non-stop. You know, a long time ago, this was done through organized groups like religions, etc. And then, however, in our last, say, 100 years, back in the late 40s and 50s, we first had what was like a mass control of images and words through broadcast television. And look, this late 50s or early 50s, late 40s. And the TV, it's interesting. You might find this little factoid interesting. In 1953, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth was broadcast on television, like to all these places. And this is credited with being a major event that made the advent of television so popular with the masses. after that event. Then everyone's like, got to get a TV in their home. So that's curious. We have a royalty. You see the pattern, the repetition, right? Now, in our lifetime, it wasn't until like 1995 or just right before the new century came in that people started getting internet in their own homes with ISPs. So this is literally just next year will be 30 years. Not long at all, right? So 30 years of internet. And Facebook has only been really popular since like 2008, which I did a little math, and that's 5,759 days ago. It's like nothing. But here's the point. Right now, AI is just right now becoming popular with the masses. And this is something we're going to have to navigate. Now, the point of all of this is that it's possibly more important than ever to take hold of your own attention and your own creative imagination. To double down with your work with the major arcana, with the core practice, and make as much inner contact with yourself, the self, as you can, while we have the luxury of being incarnate. Because it is a luxury. And before AI is influencing literally everything that we come into contact with in our society and culture. The point is, use of the core practice and holding these images, these keys in your own inner knowing, your own inner vision will aid you to keep your own autonomy over your own image-making faculties. Very important. And it's simple. The wonderful beings that brought us this system has done the world a tremendous service. But we have to do the work. And our own imagination, of course, is the doorway to the inner worlds. It's how we transfer our own consciousness to the inner planes. This is the truth about the self number 3 from Paul Case's pattern on the trestle board. And it speaks to the intelligence of the Empress. Immersion in her will do just that, the number 3. So with your core practice this week, we're going to do something just a little bit different, but keep the core of our core practice. I'm going to share with you now a very powerful technique for working with the keys, which is similar to what we do now, but we're going to break it down into micro focus, and we're going to practice it so you get an idea. Now, before we start this, I want you to know it's better to have your own colored key for this. You can use a digital image if you don't have one, but if you don't have one, get and color your own keys. Or at the very least, have your own colored keys. It's just better for this technique to work. But here's what I want you to do with your core practice each night. I want you to take one image or one area of the key and focus intently on that one area with your visual awareness. Relax, but very focused. Okay, we're going to practice this, and you're going to do it for around 20 to 30 seconds. You're going to stare at one area in the key for 20 or 30 seconds, and then I'll set a little alarm while we practice this to give us an idea of it, okay? And after you focused on that area and really given your visual attention and let all the light absorb on that one space, that one object, image in the key. After 20, 30 seconds, close your eyes and relax. And then allow the after image of what you were just staring at to just float in your inner retinal field while you close your eyes. So again, we're going to practice this. So relax, take some deep breaths. When I say, I'm going to set the timer as we go through these. I want everyone to just now start to place your attention and on the triangle, the center, the heart area of High Priestess. Full attention only on the red triangle now. Breathe in and breathe out. Relaxed, totally focused. Don't let your eyes leave that area. Relaxed. Relax. Close your eyes now. Relax. Now, relaxed. Allow whatever's floating in your visual field for you to see it. See what's there. If you have trouble seeing anything, that's okay. Just what you need to do is just visualize what you remember about what you were staring at. Okay. Now, next, I want you to open your eyes, relax, and stare intently at the foot, the High Priestess and the Crescent. Giving this your absolute full attention now. Breathe in, breathe out. Really focus intently on that foot. Just keep staring, keep staring, keep staring in the center of it. You'll know you're doing it right when you start to see the color almost kind of shift inside of the area you're looking at. And when I say relaxed, keep your focus. Now, close your eyes and relax and see the after image that floats right in your awareness. Do you see that? You see how that yellow foot is now like a purple triangle? It helps to relax your eyes and relax your whole awareness. It will just float there. If you have any issues with seeing it, it's okay. Just relax. It'll come with time and practice. This is exactly how you transfer it from the self-conscious to the subconscious. And when you're ready, open your eyes one more time here and focus on the waterfall. Give the waterfall your full attention. And now pick one area, whatever speaks to you. I like it down here at the bottom where it's white, but whatever area speaks to you in that waterfall, really focus your full attention on that now. Breathing it in, breathing it out. You're training your visual focus to stay in one particular area. Now close your eyes and see the after image. of what you were staring at. The more you relax, the more the after image will just emerge. Excellent. Perfect. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes. This is the technique you're going to use with your core practice this week. You might move next to the shield and the dove, or the dove in the background, or the bee, or the trees, or the sky. Just one image after another. Keep doing that. Do that for about 10 or 15 minutes each night before you go to sleep. And really, it's a balance between intense focus and then total relaxation. That gives you the best results for seeing the after images. As you do this, remember to make your intention and your resolve. Really tell yourself, I'm going to use all of my powers and resolve to awaken within my dreams tonight. To remind yourself throughout the night. If you're a person who wakes up throughout the night, that's fairly normal. Try to remember what you were just dreaming. Don't give it a whole lot of like super focus, but unless it's something that speaks to you, and then write it down. But in between dreams, when you wake up, tell yourself again, my next dream, I'm going to wake up and be awake in my dream.
Did I see a fish in that water, or was that my imagination?
Well, that's a really great question, Patrick. That's a good eye. And it was both. Once we begin to wake up more and more within our dreams, and once you start waking up more in your dreams, you'll begin to understand from your own deeper inner experience of why the Empress is so loved. Thank you all for your light and participation. This concludes our outer class on the Empress, lucid dreaming, and the cube of space. The floor is now open for any questions or comments.